Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Popcorn People Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, we're going to break down not one, but two movies, one that hit theaters, one that hit streaming. And I'm very, very excited to talk about both of them. I'm joined by my partner here, Mr. Don Fisher. How are you, man?
What's poppin', Colonels? Man, look, it's been a weekend of buffoonery. It's been, we're on the eve of Martin Luther King Day and some other thing that happens to be going on the same day, some weird shit. And yeah, man, it's been a weird weekend, man. There's a weird energy. We had all this TikTok stuff going on, all the political games. The script is bad, people. The societal script is not scripting right now. It is not good. So hopefully you're all doing okay. We're doing okay, but geez, it's a weird. I guess like 15 hours.
Yeah. It was the whole TikTok thing was I don't even really know what to say about it. Yeah. I mean, not to get too crazy on here, but I mean, just go back and look in time and see where this all started and go from there, I guess. But I will say this too. It's definitely been an interesting week as we get ready to head towards the Oscar nominations, which are coming on Thursday. Lots of movies in play, lots of conversations being had about what's good, what's not good, what's getting nominated, what's not getting nominated, what are the good movies, what are the bad movies, who's getting snubbed, who's on first, who's on second, and it's gonna happen. We're all gonna get mad, we'll be happy, we'll be sad, we'll be all those things. But I'm just kind of excited to talk about some movies that we checked out and we liked, or maybe we didn't like. Who knows? You know what I mean? But it was nice to have our first. That was our first, right? Our first.
Yep.
Critic screening of the year, right?
Yep.
The first of hopefully many, like we always want. But I was excited to really get back into the theaters. This was my first movie of 2025. Like
Same.
first like movie released in 2025 that I saw. So very, very excited about that. But yeah, the first movie we're going to talk about did hit theaters. It looks like it's going to be the number one movie in America for the 3-day weekend. Might not be for the 4-day weekend with the upcoming holiday of MLK Day, but the number one movie in America, kind of surprising everybody. It's One of Them Days, and we're going to dive right into that. Dom, give us some notes on the film.
Yeah, one of them days when her boyfriend takes her rent money, Alyssa and her roommate race against the clock to avoid eviction and keep their friendship intact. Directed by Lawrence Lamont, Issa Rae. It's Issa Rae joined. She produced it, and then of course stars KeKe Palmer and SZA, along with a few surprising appearances from Cat Williams, Lil Rel, Desi Banks, Tony Baker, and then of course Patrick Hayes the second, and then Joshua David Neal. And yeah, this movie has been like a breath of fresh air. Ricky and I, a lot of times when we get to award season, right, it's always best comedy. And if you ask the general audience, there hasn't been that many genuine laugh out loud comedies. We get a lot of stuff that's under the comedy umbrella, but then you watch it and you're like, I mean, it wasn't really funny. I know people get upset about The Bear winning for best comedy because you're like, nothing in the show was funny. It's a great show, but I didn't laugh. This isn't funny. And when it comes to that category, the industry is very weird because producers can decide whether or not they want to put it as a comedy or not, and that's just what it is. But this film is a genuine gut buster, rib tickler. I really enjoyed the casting, the chemistry. It wasn't corny. When we get a lot of times we get Black comedies, right? We get this depiction of what's not. It gets people to laugh at Black people instead of laughing with us. And this one was crafted in such a way that everybody's in on the joke. We all can. It's so specific that it's universal. So, like, if you're from outside the culture, even if you don't know all the lingo, all the jokes, you still get the story, and it's still funny because they layer in all these different types of comedy, from physical to whatever else you want to include. And this is a crazy journey. I mean, the breakdown of it feeling like you're watching an episode of 24 where it's like, 9 hours till eviction, 1 hour till eviction. Like it's fun. Every turn there's some kind of weird hijinks that happens, and it kind of feels to me like Friday meets I Got the Hookup meets there's I can't remember the movie. I put it in my review. There's two like sisters, and then there's one other one that I kind of compared it to. Whereas because you don't get a lot of girl buddy comedies, specifically, you don't get a lot of black women buddy comedies, and they knocked out the park for me. Laughed the whole time. It's eye candy for us men. There's eye candy for the women. Like it's all around a good time. Now it does have its shortcomings a little bit. There's this natural flow that it has, and it was seamless. And then right when you feel like in your body, when you feel like the story is supposed to be coming to an end, there's still like an extra 15 minutes. Now, it wasn't a bad 15 minutes because it all comes together, but the tonal switch is kind of weird for me, how it was like super funny, a little bit over the top, and then it just hits you with like, no, it's serious now. All right. shit is hit the fan, and we got to get serious because we got to figure this shit out. But like I said, it comes together. Maude Apatow, she has a day pass to the cookout. She don't got a whole pass, but she got a day pass. She can come kick it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I exceeded. I don't even know what I expected, honestly, but it exceeded whatever I thought this might be, because we all know KeKe Palmer, naturally funny, naturally energetic, star. SZA, we all know her music's great, but we don't know what this acting talent is like. And like Ice Cube, like a lot of other singers, rappers that are able to cross over, she did it pretty seamlessly. Of course, she has a veteran, a seasoned pro in KeKe to help her out, but she did a fantastic job. And it's just fun. It's a fun movie. I think it's bigger than January, but it is a good way to kick out January. This is the only thing you're going to see.
I'll piggyback off that comment. The reason I think it's perfect for January is because I feel like if this movie's released in May, June, July, it gets lost in the shuffle. I don't think it gets to stand out on its own and kind of be a positive alternative to like Wolfman, because Wolfman's a perfect January movie because as we've seen, it's kind of bombed. It didn't go as big as people thought it was. I never really thought it looked that good, but to me, so. It's predictable, right? It's entirely predictable. However, KeKe Palmer is fantastic. I had just two issues with the film. KeKe Palmer was light years ahead of everybody, right? She's she's acting. I feel like she at some point in the film says that she's new to the game, right? And she has the perfect companion to really elevate her, but it almost felt like KeKe Palmer was dumbing herself down in an aspect of that acting persuade. But I felt like at some point they finally found that chemistry that worked, that really maybe says it got comfortable in the role. I think that to me is where things kind of like kicked it up a notch. I love the cameos. I felt like I really wished I would have got a little bit more from Maude Apatow's character. I felt like they could have explored that a little bit more, because I felt like they introduced her and like she ultimately didn't really. She brought one thing to the table that was pivotal to the thing. She was
a means to an end, essentially.
Right, exactly. Now, I will say this. If they do get a sequel, and I'm hoping they do now because the movie's making some money, I would love to see Apatow's character come back and kind of find herself in the thick of things with the girls because of how things unfolded or whatever. But one thing that I didn't like, I laughed quite a bit. I really found myself enjoying a lot of this thing. I wish that the villain reveal at the end would have been somebody stupid, like a funny cameo. You had the fun cameo from Little Rel. Cat Williams was a nice little touch here and there. He wasn't over the toply annoying. I felt like he was perfectly placed in certain places, and the way that you introduced his character and how he kept on coming back really made for it to be funny. But I just wish that the villain there at the end could have been some random person that would have been in the movie for 30 seconds, and it would have been hilarious. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
really feel like that could have been, that was the only thing that I really saw that I was like, man, I wish, because I was hoping when we got the reveal, like it would have been somebody. I feel like the funny thing about it is the perfect person I thought that would have been perfect for it is a person that's canceled. But like if you would have brought him back from his Spring Breakers days, like you had James Franco turn around, that would have been hilarious with the braids and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Or like, I don't really care how you look at it. You got 50 Cent, you got any random just hilarious cameo there. Ice Cube would have been cool.
I was
I
thinking Ice Cube too because
Yeah,
it has a
it would,
Friday feel to it.
yeah, you know
Like
what I mean?
especially when shit hits the fan, it's very much like we're sticking together, but now like you're pissing me off because you made the mistakes that got me in trouble,
Or
or even like because it's like South LA, they could have pulled in a Vince Staples because Vince is small, and to have like his character, him to have his like heightened vocabulary be like the villain where he's supposed to be super gangster and he starts using a Rolodex of words would have been fucking hilarious.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that I felt like they could have gone, and I felt like they did it smartly. Like with Lil Rel, he was in the movie, a couple minutes, and it was a perfect little cameo. You know what I mean? Like you could have just added that extra layer. Other than that, though, I had a blast. I mean, it was great. It's the perfect first movie for me to see this year, because again, we're in the midst of all of this awards craziness, nonsense. And it's like we're continuously talking about this, and after watching so many serious type of movies,
Yeah.
it's like, man, this is nice. You know what I mean? Like this is nice to be able to just sit here and watch a movie and just enjoy it, just laugh at a
And
movie.
and the funniest part though, because we're in a theater that's packed and 90%, 95% black women. So my mom's there. I feel already super comfortable. But the funniest part is that, because of the type of movie it is, everybody looks good. I have this lady next to me, and she's like, when when the maniac is on screen, you just look at him, give me a piece of that, and I'm just like, you know what? I love black people. Like I know people hate like we're talking in the theater and the whole dude. It made it so much more fun. Like if
I
this
feel
would have
like
just
that's
been
such yeah, I feel like that's so different for me, like when it comes to comedies.
yeah,
Horror movies, all right, I get it. And that goes for everybody when it comes to horror
yeah,
movies, not just black people. I'm not gonna say that. But to me, but like that movie was an extra layer of hilarious, because it wasn't just like it was older black. There was a
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
older black
yeah,
women in that crowd. And that made it, because again, you're right, that the extra level of like, normally it's just the eye candy and the men are getting it. No, they
yeah.
had some eye candy for the women in this. And these older ladies, man, they were about it. You know what I
Horned
mean?
up.
They, man, if they had a man at home, they were going home and giving the business. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
like,
they knew what they were doing because they zoomed in on dude's face a couple times.
man,
I'm like,
plenty of
y'all think
time.
y'all slick.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like, had his shirt off quite a few times. You know what I mean? And you know what? It made for an extra layer to the movie for us as the audience
Yeah.
to really kind of enjoy that. You know what I mean? Like I love that they did that. I love that they
So he's
added that
definitely
layer.
his career just bumped up a few points. He's definitely going to end up being in some bigger things simply for the fact that he looked the way he looked. He was swolled up and shit. And I was like, all right, this dude finna be, if he's got the chops. I looked at his IMDb and he's been in a few big things. So I was like, okay, this is really gonna like take him off because you're gonna have people wanting to see him now.
Exactly. I agree 100%. And the thing about it is what all I really want from this entire thing is I want a sequel. I would love to
Yeah,
see another one. Give me
I
another
want to
one.
see one from the point of view of Big Booty Bernice because she was like Debo, like, and I'd love to see like kind of where it rotates the points of view where maybe they're after a certain thing and then she happens to want it as well, and then you get a back and forth of like how both sides are trying to get to whatever it is. Because Bernice was hilarious because that is such a real life thing where she could have easily been like, nah, it's not that big of a deal. But it was like, no, like my pride won't let me. Like, and even she kind of said it too, like, no, they embarrassed me, so like I got to get their ass back. And I was like, that's real life. That's how people operate. Like, especially
Exactly.
when people are recording. Oh, someone yells "World Star." Look, I'm sorry, I wasn't gonna go this far, but it just turned it up a little bit. So I gotta go ham real quick.
Exactly. And you know what? I think the perfect counterpoint to the weekend, if you didn't hit the theaters, there was a good movie that hit the streaming platform, and it was the return of Cameron Diaz teaming up with Jamie Foxx for Back in Action. Give us some details on this one, Dom.
When former CIA spies Emily and Matt are pulled back into espionage after their secret identities are exposed. It is directed by Seth Gordon and stars Cameron Diaz, Jamie Foxx, and I think that this is a perfect title because it's back in action for both of these people. Jamie dodged a life-threatening situation. We haven't seen Cameron Diaz on screen in a long time. So yeah, I'll let you go first on this one.
Yeah, so I look, when I watched I didn't watch a trailer. I saw the little thing on Netflix because you don't have a choice sometimes but to watch the little 10, 15
Yeah.
second thing that they put on there. I love Cameron Diaz. I've always loved Cameron Diaz. I thought she was a good actress. I felt like she's always brought something. I felt like she's a really good comedy actress as well.
Mm-hmm.
That very under the radar one sometimes. She played in a lot of comedy films, but it wasn't always like she's a great comedy actress or anything like that. She ain't been on the screen. I think it's been almost 10 years, I think it was. And I felt like she fit right back into the fold. And I felt like Jamie Foxx was the perfect counterpart to her. It gave you very much a Mr. and Mrs. Smith
Yep.
style vibe, which, I mean, who doesn't love Mr. and Mrs. Smith, especially fresh off Mr. and Mrs. Smith style show last year, which was literally Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I love that. But yeah, I loved. I don't think there's anything really bad to say about this movie. It's everything I expected it to be. Was it predictable? Yes. Was it crazy? Yes. Was it unrealistic? Yes. Was it fun? Absolutely. Was it crazy? Was it a wild ride? Was the action cool? Did Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz kick ass? Yes, they did. Did I have fun watching them kick ass? Absolutely. Was it hilarious to kind of watch the kids, watch them kind of unpack their lives in a way that they never really saw before? That was hilarious. You know what I mean? Like, it was funny to watch them. Like, who are our parents? Like, they literally are figuring out in real time that their parents are like cold-blooded assassin, killers. You know what I'm saying? So, like, to me, it was a lot of fun. I love Kyle Chandler. I think Kyle Chandler should play literally in every movie just because I think he's fun. It's the perfect streaming movie. I really don't know what else to say other than that. I thought the runtime was a little too long. It was a little too long. That was probably my biggest bone to pick with it, but it's not. Is it great? No. But is it bad? I've seen so many people thrash this movie. I don't get it. Again, it's January. I want to have fun with movies. Yeah. I had a lot of fun with this movie, period. What about you?
Yeah, that's what I fail to understand is why people get so mad about fun movies. Like, that's usually the biggest issue is people like that hate these certain movies. It's the fun ones. Like that where sometimes you're just trying to sit back and be entertained and watch something easy with your family, your significant other, or whatever. And this was that kind of movie. I mean, Jamie and Cameron, they have a long storied friendship. So the chemistry was easy. It was like, I'm sure for them, it was like, oh, seeing your old friend again and picking right back up where you left off. I mean, the action sequences were really good. Like, I don't know. I was really looking too. I was trying to see if they're using stunt doubles, and it didn't look like they're using them that much, if at all. And then the parent and children dynamic I thought was cool because when you look at the family dynamics between when we grew up to us now being parents, it's completely different. And I think this was a perfect depiction of how different it is, where the kids, they're a little too big for their britches because they all got phones. They know stuff. And as us becoming parents, we're like, trying to walk that fine line of being stern, but also wanting to kind of be their friend because we feel like that balance is good for your kids to grow, especially in today's world, because you want them to be able to come talk to you. And then you have these characters who, as parents, Jamie and Cameron in the movie, they are kind of on that weird cusp because their generation is like was so stern, so they're trying to be like not trying to be stern, but can't help it because of what the job they did before and what their how they grew up. So Cameron is hilarious as she's like, no, like we're literally spies. We should like be spying on them. And Jamie's trying to be, nah, we should like just let them do that thing. It's let them grow. Um, but yeah, I thought it was really fun. I mean, for whatever reason, Netflix loves spy thrillers, and this is the other side of that spy thriller. This was like, we'll give you the spy thriller, but look, we gotta make it a little fun. Glenn Close is in it. She's always good. I don't know. It's too easy for her. Put her in anything, she's gonna kill it. And while it is predictable, it's so predictable that you suspect everybody. And I think that's where some of these movies they do pretty well because you're like, it's got to be him, and it's got to be him. Oh, it's got to be her and him, and then so that predictability makes it just a little bit unpredictable. Could you be right? Yeah, but you also guessed everybody instead of just guessing that one person. So I think that makes it fun. And the one thing that does give it that seriousness is Andrew Scott, because there's nothing really in his delivery. It's like this. It's super dry and stern. It's a little funny only because of some of the lines that's written for him, where he is obsessed with Cameron's character and can't get that away from what he's trying to do. But yeah, I thought it was fun. I bet you this is one of those films that when you look on Rotten Tomatoes, the critic scores are going to be really low, and then the fan one's going to be, 40 to 50 to possibly 60, 70% higher, because it is fun.
Yeah, I genuinely don't understand like the hate that I've seen on social media from critics and stuff like that. To me, it didn't make any sense. I had a blast with it. I'm actually looking up the Rotten Tomato score right now as we speak. Here, let's see.
The only issue I had with it was there's a thing that is being it's always something that has been stolen and is trying to be sold by the bad guys. And when he said his original price, I was like, that's it. That's all you wanted?
Right? Yeah, it was it was a pretty low amount of money, wasn't it?
That's the only thing I had issue with. I was like, that's it? That okay.
Yeah,
So
we're
you're
at
not like a
24% on Rotten Tomatoes by critics right now. 24%, bro. And we're at 62% with audiences right now,
Yeah.
which is great. But still 24%.
Come on now.
I mean, that's pretty insane. You know what I mean? I don't know. 24% is pretty crazy.
Yeah, and it's one of those, and I see, and like we've always said this, it's one of those things like we didn't expect it to be like this super great thing, like the greatest thing we've ever seen, even the best comedy or the best action comedy. It's just fun, and everything doesn't have to be. I don't know. It's frustrating. Like,
Yeah, it's great. Again, like I said, I mean, we're in the midst of award season. We just got done with December where you're watching 40 or 50 different movies. You're trying to figure out, what movies you want to watch, what movies you don't want to, and you just want to sit. Like, I want to spend January watching nothing but fun movies. I want to watch
yeah,
movies that are entertaining. I want movies that make me laugh. I want movies that are just no nonsense, whatever. And that's exactly what I got from this movie. It's exactly got it from One of Them Days. It was the perfect combination of those two movies that made me quite a bit happy. So,
yep.
I am to the moon and fed up with all of the people out in the universe because I feel like I don't know what people are expecting from these type of movies, but whatever it is, you guys need to lower your standards, I guess, because this was a lot of fun.
Yep.
All right, folks. Short, sweet, and to the point episode. I think this week. I like it. I love it. But the one thing that you're probably not checking out if you're still listening, we have launched a brand new podcast. Me and Dom and I have brought. Dom and I have launched a brand new podcast right here on the Drive-In Podcast Network. With that being the WWE Raw on Netflix podcast, the Raw on Netflix podcast. It's available on all streaming, all podcast platforms across the board. We're recapping every episode of Raw on this podcast. We might sprinkle in some pay-per-views throughout the year, obviously, as well. You got WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble. I know Dom and I will be definitely watching that, checking that out, and breaking down our thoughts on that, probably on the same episode of the Raw on Netflix podcast. But you want to make sure to check that out. But as we do each and every week, folks, you know what time it is. Everybody knows what time it is. It's your time for your favorite part of the show, where I give Dom Fisher one unfiltered minute to give some thoughts about whatever he wants. All right, folks, welcome to Dom's Corner. We're going to call it Dom's Corner for now.
Dom's Corner. You're all in timeout. So this is one thing that's really been eating at me. I don't think we got to say it on this show. We said it on the other show. Shout out to all our people affected with fires in LA, our people, the first responders, colleagues, friends. Shout out to my homie Joe, Gemma. They out here helping, the community as much as they can. But a thing that I've seen online a lot that pisses me off is this. We all know that we've been kind of desensitized to tragedies, but to kind of celebrate people's losing everything in these fires, like hundreds of thousands of people, is fucking nuts. And if you're out here celebrating or making light of it and not have, it's one thing to make light of it when you've gone through it because you're trying to cope. But if you're just trying to poke fun, fuck you, right? Because not everyone that lives in LA is a celebrity. Not everyone that lives in LA is rich. LA is a big place, and it's probably a lot like where you live. They have their grocery stores, they have their Dollar Generals and Targets and Walgreens and all their food. It's just like where you live, just in a different area with usually better weather than where you live at. But for some reason, people focus on just the celebrities, whether it's the people online or the media, and it makes everyone else not care about everyone else, all the regular people who are affected. And just because, also to that point, just because somebody is on TV does not mean they're rich. Like, I don't know if you heard the term working actor. They're doing a job like you're doing a job. Their job is just more publicized, but that still doesn't mean that they're making millions of dollars, or they can buy 3, 4, 5 houses. Some of them, they have an apartment and that's it. And now the shit's gone. So I need people to like take a step back and like read or look and like do some kind of something before you open your damn mouth and try to make fun of shit that you don't understand. Because I'm sure if that situation was happening to you, you'd want the same kind of respect that they deserve and not getting from you. So yeah, shout out to all the people who are making it, trying to make it work. Hopefully you're able to, get your livelihoods back, your houses. Hopefully this is not something where the government comes and tries to buy up the land. And, I know like, was it Altadena, I believe is the area where it was like one of the first Black, like middle class neighborhoods that burned completely to the ground. And we've seen some of these stories before with like Katrina, where these natural things happen and it gets flipped and taken advantage of. So hopefully this ain't that kind of situation. But shout outs to y'all. Hopefully you can get back on your feet. I'm not one that's big into prayers and thoughts and all that, but like whatever I can send that way, vibes, energy, whatever, that's what I'm sending, because it's terrible. And, as a person of the people, both of us, me and Ricky, we love you guys. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, normally we cut off from there, but I do want to agree. I do want to say that too, because there's a lot of people that we know affected by what happened. You know what I mean? Like, LA is like a home away from home just based on the fact that it's like something that we love. You know what I mean? We love LA because why? Because that's where the movies, that's where it's the movies, you know what I mean? Like when you think of LA, you think of the movies and having people that we know affected by that, whether it's PR people. That's the thing that people lose sight on. These PR, there's a lot of PR people out in Los Angeles that are that have lost their homes, that aren't millionaires or anything like that, are going to get screwed over by these insurance companies that
Yeah.
aren't sure what that next step's going to be. You know what I mean? Like be mindful of these things. I've just lost the society of like when you think back of like when 9/11 happened, you thought nothing more, like there was unity. And
Yeah.
now it's just the first thing that we think of whenever something tragic happens. It's this negativity, and it's this just disrespectfulness, and it's like, oh, these people are no, not all these people are rich. You know what I mean? And just because you see a $10 million house burnt, look at the rest of them. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, and even some of the people, like, what was it? I saw, was it JJ Redick? I think it was, like, he's the coach of the
Yeah.
Lakers now. He
Yep.
was like, he said in an interview, like he was damn near breaking down in tears whenever he like went to his house and saw that his house was burned down. But he says, you know what? Don't worry about me. I'm gonna be okay because I have the money. He said, worry
Yeah.
about the people that are not gonna be okay. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And even some of the people that did have their multi-million-dollar houses, that some of those people can't afford those houses. They probably live, you know what I mean? But
Yep.
it's crazy how we've come to such a a political framed first moment whenever something happens. It's like it's scary to think of like a 9/11 happened today, what the fuck would happen to the world? You know what I mean? Like that would
Yeah.
be terrifying because before it was you see the people that are running into these fires. You have convicted criminals who are getting paid $5 to an hour to go commute, to get their sentences commuted, to go rush into these fires. You had Canada crossing the border to come help us. You had Mexico. After all of the things
Yeah.
that this country continuously says about that country, they still come to our aid and help us in the time of need. We need them. We needed
Yep.
all of them. You know
Yep.
what I mean? It's crazy to think, though. I don't know, man. It's sad. Our society has come to just this dwindling down of just horrendous stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a decay.
It is, but yeah, that is it for this week's episode of the Popcorn People Podcast. Next week's episode, we'll probably be talking a little bit about flight risk. Even though I did see somebody tweet online, I figured to leave it on a little lighter note. Said that if you're excited for flight risk, you have to check yourself. I don't really care. It fucking looks like a banger. Dom and I are going to check it out this weekend. We might have plans with another movie as well, but we'll reveal that next week on the show. Make sure to tune in Tuesdays to check out the Raw on Netflix podcast. We'll see you guys next week. Bada bing, bada